What's up guys, Covert Spike here bringing you a GTA 5 video, and I know this is something that I don't really do often. Well, I guess I don't really upload often, but when it comes to the games I've played, GTA is not one that I've uploaded much of, and so I decided to make a top 5 video on this game because I've been playing the heck out of it recently and grinding and just grinding and getting lots of money. And so this is going to be my list of 5 things that would greatly improve GTA, at least in my eyes. And I'm not going to make this a top 5 in the sense that they're in any particular order, because they're not. These are really just 5 ideas. And I'm avoiding like a lot of the huge problems, because these are things like, because those problems have been talked about a lot, and I just wanted to ask myself, what are some things that I've heard a little bit about but haven't heard too often that I think would greatly improve GTA? And so these are some of those things. But first, I'm going to start out with an honorable mention, and that is a PvP overhaul, in the sense that things like easy way outs or like suicides while engaged in PvP count as a kill towards the other player. And say what you want about this game, but obviously Rockstar like oriented part of this game for PvP, because they wouldn't have things like death matches, they wouldn't have the adversary modes for that stuff, and they wouldn't be adding a bunch of weaponized vehicles if they didn't want you to PvP in them, because then they would only have those things for missions. So yeah, obviously a part of this game is dedicated to PvP, and so I think that if things like suicides, easy way outs counted as assisted suicide points and counted as a kill toward the other player, it would honestly reduce toxic strategies like that and really help keep PvP excuse me really help keep people like fighting each other rather than just, you know, killing themselves at the first sign of trouble. So that was the honorable mention. Now on to the list. The very first thing I have on this list right here is more classic criminal businesses. And what I mean like that is, yes, we have things like import-export, that deal with cargo and shipments, and things like the MC businesses that like where you're selling drugs, counterfeit cash, and forged documents, things like that. But then you have gun running, which is more like, I guess, cartel themed when it comes to, smuggling weapons illegally. And you have, after that, there's obviously the nightclub. But I think we could be branching out a little further. Like, what if you could own, what if there was a mob update where, like, there were certain stores and you'd like have them as a passive business, and kind of like the technicians, but you do some missions for them to help, like not really like popularity missions, but do a mission or so, or like buy supplies and whatnot, and then they'll just be producing and not be able to get raided. Let's point that out. But then you'll go and collect your money, and it's not like you have to sell anything. Again, it's like a passive business, where it's like the mob going to collect their money, and then have, tons of options, like where you have the bounties option. What if they expanded on that and made like instead of a bounty, they called it a hit, and if you put a hit out on somebody, you can do much more money and get a really good amount of RP. Or what if in that DLC, if they were to add something like that, what if you could, instead of to expand on like calling the mugger and whatnot, What if they made it to where you can call a gang? Like Lamar, if you pay 5,000, you can call a gang, and they'll not only steal the money like the mugger, but they'll go beat up the person you're trying to kill. And, you know, that's what balances it out. Sure, it's a lot of people coming out of nowhere, but they're beating you up. They're not, like, shooting you and whatnot. I feel like that could be a really cool idea. But just things like that, like, instead of having a DLC where it's, like, futuristic, or even maybe, like, near future or modern, what if it's just like, you know, this is a classic criminal thing? And so that was one idea that's been on my mind. The second idea is better payouts on adversary modes. This actually is a really bigger issue, because if you know the Arena Wars DLC, somebody calculated that entire DLC, if you buy everything, will cost a little over like $256 million. And that's freaking ridiculous, especially because the Arena Wars payout is terrible. And not only that, the adversary modes in general just don't pay that well, and that's why nobody plays them unless it's like double money on them. So you have all these game modes, but their pay is terrible for all the work that you're putting into them. Like, I think if you lose, you should get like 30, 40,000. If you win, it should be 100,000, because that would greatly increase the popularity and how much people really play them. It would improve it so much. And yeah, honestly, there's not a lot to say on this topic. These adversary modes just need a lot better of a payout. So the next thing, number 3, is going to be pointless upgrades. Do not need to be in the game. I've heard a few people talk about this, including people such as The Professional, but this is something that really needs to be taken into account. Things like the safe, like in the CEO office, that just holds your money. It's like, why would you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to have your money held? It's so stupid. And, you know, the security is the biggest one, because even if you buy security, you can still get raided. And it's like, why is it just reducing your chances? Why doesn't it completely take out raids? You know, if it doesn't take out the raids, it just reduces the chances of it happening. It's like, what's the point? You know, it'd be like if you go to the casino and bet on the horse races, and you bet on the one that's like 25 in 1 chance of winning, or whatever that is, and you say, here, I'll pay $100,000 to make it 23 in 1. And it's like, you know, sure, you have better chances, but at the end of the day, it's not guaranteed, and that's what makes it a real waste of money. So that's a really big issue with this game, just those stupid, pointless upgrades. And so things like a solution would be like, if you have the safe, then using the power of video game logic, it decreases all of your property fund, like the property fees. Yeah, like the safe could decrease all your property fees, therefore you can get a lot more money back. You know, obviously security could actually take out the raids, and it's just things like that. Give everything a purpose rather than just like cosmetic stuff. And also, don't make things like changing the tint or the paint, don't make that actually cost money. Why does that even cost money? Sure, if you're upgrading your car, but even then, when you're upgrading your car, it's not even that expensive to change the paint. So that's another thing. Like, there are some points where it's like understandable, like with the nightclub, you're renovating that entire thing and making it look completely different, giving it new light rigs and stuff like that. That would cost a lot of money. But to paint something like a freaking terabyte per se, it's like, why is it costing so much money to do that? You know, it's just a little ridiculous in that sense. So yeah, no pointless upgrades. So number 4 on my list is more crime-related events. And this may sound a little similar to the first one, but it's really not, in the sense that the first one was talking about full-on, like, straight-up businesses. This one's talking about events, like adding back the armored truck robberies, because let's be honest, the free mode events right now are boring and they're just not any fun to do, because it's like, why would I want to earn like $10,000 for doing the longest wheelie on a motorcycle? It's like there's no point to it. And just things like that. The free mode events have gone downhill like very, very far, and it's honestly sad to see, like, back then when you had like the supply crates you could get and you never knew what was in it, or again the armored truck robberies. It's been replaced by, drive the longest in reverse without crashing. It's so freaking stupid. Like, why aren't the free mode events like miniature fleece a bank hits, where you can go in and drill the safe or whatever, and you have to go get that money and take it to a certain location, kind of like a business battle, and you'll get like $50,000 from it, and it doesn't take really that long to do. Or, like, this is where business battles are good, because they kind of have that idea. But, like, what if you made most of the free mode events like the business battles? Like, I know you have the client job diamond shopping, where you can go rob the Vangelico store, but what if there's a free mode event where you have to go in and in 2 minutes or a minute or so, whatever, break open the most cases that you possibly can and grab as much jewelry as you possibly can, and then after that you have to escape and take it to a certain location again, but like the payout again is like $50,000. Things like that would not only inspire like PvP that's necessary because you're competing for work, but it would also give people an incentive to do the free mode missions. And we just need a few more things like that, because the past free mode events were really good, but then they removed a lot of them and replaced them with the really, really shit ones. So that's what I think. And number 5 on my list that I think would very well benefit GTA is grief compensation. And what I mean about that is, so when your cargo gets griefed after work, when you're trying to do a job, you lose all of it. And it can be even, it's always extremely infuriating, because you spent all that time, you spent those countless hours just trying to get all of that product. You spent all that time just trying to get the product, and then when you finally have hundreds of thousands of dollars of it, it gets destroyed in one missile by some idiot on an oppressor or something. And I think that is totally BS. And what I think could very well help this is if that, when it happens, you get griefed, you wait a little bit if you weren't able to close your application in time, and you get a text from whoever runs like that certain business, such as like Agent 14 or LJT, and they say, hey, we were able to recover this, this from the wreckage, and it's like 50% of what was destroyed, so you don't have to go back and just do all of that over again. You could at least get some of it back because it was able to be recovered. And I think that would definitely help out, because then when you get griefed, it's like, okay, well, sure, I lost this amount, but I'll be able to get half of it back, meaning I'm not completely losing all of that work that I put into this, and I am not, you know, you're not losing all of it. You're able to save some of it, because who knows, maybe in real life, if something like that were to happen, you would be able to recover some of it from the wreckage. So I think to really help the fairness of it, and to really just keep griefing, like make the impacts of cargo griefing and toxicity like that minimal, griefing, like whatever product was grief, should be compensated for by giving you back half of what was griefed. So that's my list for the 5 things in my mind that would greatly improve GTA. Feel free to leave your comments below, and I will see y'all guys in the next video. Peace.